What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back at it again, and we're in the Burg using my Crystal Magic Lioness build. And actually this is the first time that I have ever created a build that was dedicated to using buffs. Alright, so we're just going to experiment with buffs a little bit. Now this is a 40-40 build. And I know when a lot of you guys hear 40-40, you may think strength and dexterity, right? But not in this case. This is a 40-40 intelligence / dexterity build, right? So I have enough intelligence to use the soul spear, but not enough to use the crystal soul spear or the white dragon breath. But I mean, it's good to go. Basically, when I am doing random invasions, either I will keep an option for crystal magic weapon or a hidden weapon, in addition to one iteration of dark beam. So basically, I have, I don't know. See, that's what I mean about some of these faith builds. That dude wasn't a faith build. He was basically a Wrath of the God build, because that was all he did. Alright, so here's a shout out to good old Valk. Right, he's one of the Twitch bro hot shots. He's kind of one of those first tier players. He's kind of way above my level. Right? Mainly because this guy is real handy with these ridiculous rolling BS's, right? And actually, if you guys would notice, he flips around and does that thing so much I can't even keep up with him, right? And that's why I say he's one of these upper tier guys, right? Because he's just way too advanced for me. I'm not like even on that level, right? I'm still on the basics, R1, R2. You guys notice that was his second rolling R1 attempt, and for whatever reason he wasn't able to land them. Right, so I guess it was a lucky thing on my part, right? Because he was definitely going in for those roll BS's. Alright, so it looks like we are going halberd versus halberd. But I'm going to go ahead and pull out my Velka's rapier to see what we can do. And actually, I never really used the Velka's rapier. My intention was to use an S-stock on this build. But, I mean, unfortunately for me, there were tight weight restrictions with regard to using this build, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys may know that the Velka's rapier is 2 units. Okay, nice BS there, champ. The Velka's rapier weighs 2 units, whereas the S-stock weighs 3 units. Right, and the way that my build was set up, I only had enough room for a 2-unit weapon. Now let's just kind of go into some of the backstory on this build. I did a 2-part video series with me and the Demon Ruins. Right, and in that particular video, I talked about my intention to create a Pyro Lioness build. And later on, after giving it a little thought, I realized, you know what? I don't think I'm going to use a Pyro Lioness build, because I really don't see myself just doing a lot of pyromancies. Now, I do have a Faith Pyro build that is pretty good, right? Because you can mix in the pyros with the miracles, but I do not have a build that I created specifically for the sole purpose of throwing pyros. And I didn't really want to do it. So after I kind of decided to renege on that original plan, I said, you know what, I'll create a catch pole build, right? So I'll go 40 and 40 with the dexterity and intelligence, and I'll use the catch pole along with Velka's rapier. But I experimented so much with that catch pole, and I had to realize to myself that damage output was absolutely horrible with that catch pole. I mean, even with having 40 intelligence and 40 dexterity, there will be some cases where I would hit some guys for like 200 damage two-handed, right? Whereas some of the other weapons, kind of like the gargoyle halberd, the standard halberd, you guys notice that quick toggle escape, which, I mean, I don't really want to get off topic, but that's one of the reasons why I try to stay somewhere in the 50s with regard to my poise. I don't want to get into a situation where I'm just basically overconfident, right? And what do I mean by being overconfident? I think a lot of these guys that when they are medium rolling, they're kind of under the impression that, if they don't have, the most poise, or as most poise that they, are able to use at medium weight, that basically they're just going to get stun locked to death. And see, I don't really look at it like that. I want to be at a situation where I can sustain certain attacks, right? Attacks from, katanas, rapiers, and, great swords. But at the same time, I still have to stay on my toes with regard to the ultra great swords, and some of these other weapons, kind of like the ultra, kind of like the Zweihander, Black Knight Great Axe, and some of these other super big weapons. Right, so that's why I generally stay in the 50s, because I want to make sure that I am keeping proficient with my toggle escape techniques. Alright, so we got a good two-shotter right there, and we're back at it with the Velka's Rapier, and it looks like we're fighting against a Balder Swag Sword. Alright, so let's see what this guy's tactic is. Looked like he was trying to go in for a BS, but I beat him to it. I'm just kind of switching off right now with the Ricard's Rapier. And actually, I don't know if I'm going to stay with the Ricard's Rapier or if I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Velka's Rapier. But, I mean, the way my build is designed, I can go ahead and use one or the other, because both the Ricard's Rapier and Velka's Rapier weighs 2 units. And like I said before, the S-Stock really would have been a good option. It has a long reach. I mean, now granted, it is kind of slow with regard to the repeated R1s, but I mean, it's decent. It has a good reach, and it's strong for a rapier. But I mean, the Velka's Rapier and the Ricard's Rapier is good to go. I don't have any problems with it. Alright, so what do we have? Alright, so we have a summon. Let's go ahead and do a greeting and start the match. Now, one thing that I have definitely noticed about the Burg, it has really devolved. Right? It hasn't evolved. It hasn't improved. It has definitely turned into what the kiln turned into a long time ago. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know how many times lately that I have been here in the Burg and I've run into either gankers or hornet fishermen or, I mean, dark bead spammers. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I remember a few months back when I used to do video, and actually it was kind of like when I first started. The Burg was definitely the place to be. Right? You can come to the Burg, have a good set of matches. You didn't have to worry about getting ganked. And speaking of gank, we have Exhibit A right here. You didn't have to worry about getting ganked. You didn't have to worry about hornet rings, at least back at that point. You know, there was a lot of things you didn't have to worry about. I mean, basically, back then when people came to the Burg, they were pretty confident that they could have some good matches without all the BS that was associated with the kiln. And I am not talking backstabs, right? I mean BS that a lot of us know about. But it seems that that's really what the Burg is turned into. Because thinking about it, I summon this dude, right? He sees that the invader is trying to gank me. However, the summon guy, which, I mean, according to how I see it, whenever you're being summoned, you know, you're supposed to have like a different standard. I mean, but I guess not. I guess it's not like that, right? So this is why, and why was I not surprised that he bowed, right? And that's one of the reasons why, you know, like I said long time ago, and like I'll continue to say, that bowing is such an empty act. I mean, it absolutely means nothing. I mean, maybe in the past it may have meant something. I mean, I know the honor dudes are kind of big into bowing. But, I mean, when you just really look at a lot of these PvP matches, these guys will use some of the dirtiest of tactics, and then they'll turn around and follow it up with the bow. It's, I don't know, it is what it is. But I remember I used to talk about that back in the past when I first did uploads. And, I don't know, it's just so empty. I mean, the way I see it, I think whenever you're doing like a fight club or a tournament or something like that, it's good to exercise a gesture, right? Not only for respect in those cases, but also to signify the start of the match. But whenever you're doing these random invasions, and even here in the quote-unquote so-called designated dueling area, I mean, you better take a bow at your own risk. Because you guys would notice in a lot of these matches, I don't gesture, I don't do anything. But if you look at a lot of my older Burg videos, you guys would notice that I would at least gesture at like 90% of the 90% of my opponents. But you see, with the condition that the Burg is in right now, I'm not gesturing at anybody unless I recognize you. Because I don't know how many times here in the Burg, because even if I didn't bow, in most cases I'll at least wave or I'll do something. But I don't even really see myself doing that anymore. Because these guys, you know, they'll just kind of, you know, they'll gesture. And if you don't gesture, they'll gesture again as if to say, come on, dude. I mean, it's all about the respect. And as soon as you do it, here they come with their horned backstabs. So you know what, guys? I mean, if you kind of meet up with me and I'm in the Burg, and you know you kind of gesture and I don't take it personal, right? Just understand that my experience has taught me that if I don't know you, if I'm not familiar with who you are, I'm not bowing, right? I'm not gesturing, I'm not waving. Now, in some of the other areas that I PvP, you know, whereas, you know, what I might call formal, and a lot of you guys who fight me, you kind of know where that area is, I'll give you a gesture every time. But here in the Burg, if you meet up with me, I mean, unless I know you by name or something like that, you're not getting a gesture. I'm not waving, I'm not doing anything, because I don't know how many times I've been horned backstabbed because I call myself trying to be quote unquote polite, right, by greeting. So it's not happening. Alright, shout out to good old Miles here. I've had a few good matches with him, and look like he's going to rock the Murakumo. Now he really needs to be careful, because that slow swing startup can make him vulnerable to my counterattacks. You guys notice that? 733 and another 733. That's 1400 damage with just 2 hits. Now I know some of you guys may say, dude, that's only because you have a buff. Dude, even if I didn't use the buff, I'm rocking the Leo ring, right? This is my Crystal Magic Lioness build. So in other words, it may not have hit for 733, but I can almost guarantee it would have hit him in the mid 600s. Right, which is still good enough. Alright, so we're going to try the Dark Moon Blade versus the Crystal Magic Weapon. Let's go ahead and tighten him up for 500 damage. Right, I didn't know what he thought that particular miracle was going to do. Come on, dude. Come on with your spamming R1. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Your fancy dancy moves don't work, dude. Not when you're fighting a Lioness build. Alright, let's see. What do we have next? So we're back at it with good old Miles. Alright. And you know what? Like I said before, I've never really dedicated a build to using buffs. But this build is like super OP. Right? If you guys would notice, I am like two-shotting a lot of guys on the counterattack. Right? In some cases, 3 shots, but in most cases, I'm getting some 2 shots on a lot of these guys. Alright, what do we have here? Okay, so he's trying to go toe-to-toe with my halberd. And if you guys notice, I went from two-handed to one-handed, right? Because I noticed that he was a R1 spammer. So hopefully we can get him to R1 spam again. What I tell you. Every time, guys. And that's why I say, just pay close attention. I know a lot of you guys you may like the commentary. But in addition to commentary, also watch my tactics. Right? Like I said in the past, one thing we do not do in the brigade is the run-up parry method. Right? But one thing that you will realize, especially when I use a lot of great swords or the halberd or some of these other weapons that in most cases I will two-hand. Just pay attention to when I two-handed and when I decide to switch from two-handed to one-handed. In most cases, I decide to switch whenever I notice a pattern from my opponent. Right? And in most cases, that move is pretty much a good move. Right? Pretty much a good move. Especially when I'm using a halberd. You guys would notice that in most cases, I am only going to one-hand my halberd when I intend to parry. Case in point. A lot of these guys who use katanas, they spam R1. You guys notice that? I only took it down because I figured he was going to spam the R1 attack. But once I noticed he was one of those hit and run type of dudes, I'm back to two-handing it. Now, I'm anticipating him spamming the R1, and that's why I was just kind of walking up on him in his face and kind of not doing anything. Because one thing that a lot of these guys do, when you kind of walk up on them, they'll just say, okay, I'll bleed them out. They're just so hot on that bleeding them out. But when you're faced against a guy that's comfortable with parrying katanas, that bleed them out tactic does not always work. Alright, so he hit me off with a good backstab. So we're good to go, and I'm going to anticipate him spamming the R1 with the Quelaag sword, for which we don't have a problem with that. You guys notice that quick reaction. But he's a hit and go guy. Right? He's a hit and go, so it doesn't look like I'm going to get a parry from him. And as a matter of fact, I think he learned his lesson from before, because actually I parried him earlier. If you guys paid close attention, I think I parried him with the Quelaag Fury sword. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and break out the hidden weapon. Alright, and this appears to be a mage build. Well, that hurt. And see, that's one thing that I hate about these weapons sometimes. The way I saw it on my screen, I was clearly far enough away from that guy. But for some reason, I got hit with the ghost damage. Now, although I do hate ghost damage, I mean, it doesn't really happen that often to where it's that much of a big deal. But it happens, right? And I don't know if that has something to do with connection. I don't know what it has something to do with. But, I mean, no game is perfect, so it is what it is. Alright, so it looks like we have another Wrath of God spammer. Right? But I have a halberd. I have a halberd. Alright, who do we have here? Okay, what's up, dude? Rhino King. See what the Rhino King is going to do. Alright, let me go ahead and try to summon Miles. Now let's just go ahead and look for a counterattack. Come on, dude. Oh, he's done. You guys notice that first hit? 804 damage. 804 damage. Good to go. Alright. What's up, dude? Go ahead and hit you off with a hidden weapon as well. And actually, Miles don't do too many of those spamming R1 attacks. But he can take a boot to the chest. And actually, he almost parried me there, so I got to be careful, especially when he's kind of close up on me. Because whenever he's close, I'm pretty sure that he'll be fishing for... and actually, I can't say fishing, because that kind of implies that he's just kind of being annoying with it. You guys notice that? Okay, so it looks like he's doing the run-up attack. I mean, the run-up technique. You guys notice his playstyle? He just kind of runs up to me and hit the parry. So that lets me know that in the future, I need to... either hesitate a little bit or ensure that I'm getting my buttons ready for the kick move. Alright, go ahead and give him a boot to the chest. That would be a good deterrent. Either that or I'll just go ahead and BS him. You know, you do that enough times, that'll be a good deterrent for that run-up method. But the thing, good, you guys notice that? Run up again. You know, he just kind of runs up to you. You know, didn't notice a pattern. No, didn't do anything, right? Because it's not like I'm spamming R1, nor is it like I'm doing a lot of rolling R1s, right? So that's why I say it's the run-up method, because he's basically hoping for me to swing at the same time that he kind of approaches me. Just didn't work that time. Now, it does work. You know, as I demonstrated in the video, it definitely works, because I've been able to do it. Right, I can, you know, you can just kind of run up to somebody and hit it, especially when you're using a lot of those medium shields. Because one thing that I have noticed, when you look at the successful parry with a medium shield, in a lot of cases it looks off, right? But when you look at the successful parry with a special shield, or the, you know, the buckler, the target shield, at least when I look at it, it appears like that parry was kind of like dead on with the timing. And that's another reason why I use these special shields. Because, you know, granted, I do have to actually hit the button a little earlier. But at least when you're looking at it on screen, it looks like it kind of connects a little better. It's not as laggy as what it would appear to be when you're using a medium shield. You know, kind of like a heater shield or something. You know, because in a lot of cases, when you're pairing with a heater shield, let's just say you're pairing a katana, a lot of times it looks like you hit the L2, the shield is in the open position, and the sword is hitting the inside of the shield, as opposed to, you know, you're swinging down with the katana and you're pairing with the outside of the shield. Now, you know, I can't really speak for anybody else, but I know when I use the buckler and I parry someone, it really appears, to me at least, that I am parrying that attack. Alright, so we have another Wrath of the God spammer. And then I guess he thought he could go toe-to-toe with me with his ridiculous demon spear. But no, dude, can't go toe-to-toe with the brigade. Especially when I'm using my CMW Lioness build. Alright, so what do we have here? Alright, go ahead, punish. Looks like he was going in for the BS. But that was a good parry right there. Good timing on that parry. Alright, so I think he tried to go for a double BS. Right, he tried to kind of hit me with the force to try to circle around. But no, dude, wasn't happening. Was not happening. Alright, what do we have? Let's see, can we get some good counter damage? Speaking of counter damage, I have another Leo ring build. Right, one that is able to use heavy weapons. And I'm going to show you guys some footage where I inflict like 1100 damage with a great sword R2. No buffs, no power within, none of that. Just a Leo ring and a plus 15 great sword. That R2 is super OP if you can land that attack. Alright. Billy the Hero. Okay, dude, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Alright, looks like he's going to use replenishment. Which, I mean, no problem. He's a faith build. Right, so even if he use a heal, if he has the time to get that heal off, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I know some of these guys get off into this thing about no healing, but hey, it's a miracle. Right, he invested soul levels into it, so it is what it is. Let him use this miracle. Now, if you want to go ahead and start hitting flash, that's something different. But hey, even if they use flash, you punish them. Right? BS them. Hit them with the Lloyd's talismans. Do something. But you know, I'm a little more forgiving when it comes to these faith builds because hey, I mean, that's their build. And actually, you know, if they are allowed to cast that without damage, then that's kind of my fault. Right? Because, I mean, it's not like you can cast a heal without penalty. Because it definitely takes a few seconds from the time that you initiate the heal to the time that your character has fully recovered and ready to continue fighting. It's probably about 5 seconds, maybe a little more, maybe 5 to 6, 5 to 7 seconds. Alright, what do we have? Go ahead, buff him up. Grass it up. And we're good to go. So it looks like this guy's trying to hit me off with some roll BS's. But he was not successful. Come on, dude. I know you're going to try it again. Come on, Robin Hood. I know you're going to try again. Up. And actually, I don't know if that was an attempt or he just simply turned, but that was definitely an opportunity to roll BS. Definitely an opportunity. Alright, let's see what Chicken Nugget has. He has an ultra great sword, it looks like. But come on, dude. I have a buffed Leo ring. Oh God, that's ridiculous. Well, alright guys, this is pretty much the end of this one-part video series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And for a lot of you guys that have been to Burg lately, listen, don't get discouraged. Right, just kind of go ahead, dig on into it and tighten up these ridiculous players, right? Because it's definitely a lot. These guys have definitely corrupted the Burg, but I mean, it is what it is. Every dog has his day. Well, alright guys, until next time, Martyr's Brigade is out.